Hello and welcome to The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly hangout every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific right here on GameSpot.com. Hi, I'm your host, Danny Dwyer, joined as ever, pretty much now, as Mr. Peter Brown, and our good friend Alex Handy from the MADE, the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment in Oakland, California, is here to join us. Thank you very much, Alex.
Good to see you again, Danny.
Good to see you. You guys launched a Kickstarter today.
Yes, we did at 10 a.m. this morning.
And it's been doing pretty good.
Yeah, we were up to about 2,500 before we started the show here.
Of your $50,000 target,
yep,
as it were. This is something that's, I know, near and dear to Peter's heart. Game preservation is near and dear to my heart after we went out and talked to you a couple of months ago. And I think one of the most shocking things to me and Andy when we did that episode of The Point was just how few people there are actually preserving what is like incredibly important things for video game culture, like going forward.
Absolutely. When you came out to talk to us, we were talking about the Copyright Office and the briefing we filed with the EFF, and I'm still in shock that we were an institution that had to comment on this because there's nobody else out there who's doing this. There's archive.org, there's the Strong Museum of Play, there's the Digital Games Museum down in Silicon Valley, but there's really not an institution, west of the Rockies that you can go in and learn about games and play these old games and understand them, at least not a permanent installation, as it were.
So what exactly is the MADE for people who've never heard of it before?
The MADE is a nonprofit, volunteer-run video game museum. We have free programming classes for kids and adults in technology skills ranging from Scratch to C to Unity to Pro Tools and Photoshop. We also preserve video game history through playable exhibits along themes, ranging from platformer games, the history of 3D, women in game development, and we provide a space for community events such as tournaments and talks, lectures, all sorts of things related to video games.
Yeah, you do quite a lot. I think when we went out, I was expecting to just see, oh, it's like a museum of games. It's just going to be a bunch of glass cabinets with stuff that I can't even touch or interact with. But what you do is, like, there's a lot of hands-on education happening, but also people can go in and actually play games. It's not like they're just sitting there. It's almost like it's like a library.
Absolutely, it is. There is a huge library of over 5,000 games, and you can play just about any of them if you want to. PC games are a little tougher because you have to install those, but console and older home computer games we can fire up. The Vectrex is plugged in, for example. The NES is plugged in. I can tell you that just about every weekend you can find a father and son or mother-daughter or mother-son playing Mario 3 or Street Fighter 2. I mean, these games cross generational boundaries, and people bond over things like Pokemon.
So why do we need something like the MADE?
Because it's important to preserve our cultural heritage. Think of it as being in 1920 and somebody wants to start preserving film, this new medium of movies, right? In that day and age, people might have thought it was frivolous or not so interesting to preserve these things. Maybe they're not art. But today, we obviously believe that films are art. We need to have institutions that are built to preserve and keep the cultural assets that are generated along the way, or else that stuff is lost to history.
Peter, I know you collect a lot of games. You go to flea markets, and you're very much like knowledgeable in terms of like retro like gaming history and acquiring this sort of stuff. I think I was probably of the mind, like a lot of people, that like video games are different to movies because they don't come on reels or they don't come on vinyl. Like video games are digital, so like surely they'll live forever, right? But that's not the case, right?
No, certainly not. I mean, especially if you look at any of the CD-based games today, those products were not designed to last, I mean, anywhere near forever, a couple of decades at best. And when you have all these different manufacturers employing different methodologies for producing these discs, we're starting to see discs fall apart, but succumbing to disc rot. So over the years, we're going to lose this stuff, and it's kind of a similar story to what you see with games on servers. Companies can take them off at any time, and so we have these tangible products that are sort of they don't have an opportunity to stick around unless we protect them. So it's very important to do that, and the museum is a really good way to do that. And I also think that people backing things up digitally is also very smart, because some people call it piracy. I call it preservation in some cases because it's the only way we can keep track of this stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like, I remember when we talked back in May, you said that one of the biggest reasons we have access to quite a lot of games is because of the piracy market.
Yeah, it's a shame that the only reason we have the Atari ST game catalog is because pirates preserved that stuff. Game companies didn't preserve it. Most of them were acquired and closed down. A lot of game companies go under very quickly. So all of these cultural relics would have been lost if it wasn't for sort of this crowdsourced effort to preserve them. Now, I'm not advocating piracy, but certainly there needs to be an institution that can do this, perhaps us.
And right now there is no legal like allowance for that, is there?
It's an interesting area of copyright law, yes.
One of the things, the reason we came out to you in the first place was when PT got taken down. Like that was very much a situation where people were like, oh my God, digital things can be taken out of our hands. I remember in 2004 when Half-Life 2 was launched, people were like, oh, buying this digitally? Like, what if in the future, far-flung future, I won't be able to play it? Or think about something like World of Warcraft when, like, in 50 years' time, if people want to go back and play one of the most revolutionary MMOs of all time, like there may not be a method of doing that. In fact, you guys have a project for one of the first ever MMO that you're trying to resurrect.
Yeah, the first graphical MMO for Commodore 64 in 1986. It was called Habitat and produced by LucasArts, and we have the source code for the server and the client, and we have undertaken a year-long effort to bring the server back. It is ridiculously complicated, so I won't go into it. But we are actually, moving along quite well. We've made more progress than I had ever expected. All the companies involved, from America Online to Fujitsu to Lucas, have all been very, very helpful in this. And they should be, because we're preserving their heritage, their cultural assets. They made these things, and if they want them preserved, they can work with an institution like us to preserve them.
So you guys are asking for $50,000. What do you need that money for? What is it going towards?
So that is the absolute barest budget that we could put together to move into a new space. We have a number of potential spaces, which we're touring this weekend. We'll be updating the Kickstarter with them. But those funds are going to be used basically to renovate the space, paint it, make it look nice like our current space does now, and would be used also to pay some rent. A few months worth of rent, but we're hoping to become self-sustainable over time. Obviously, we also have to do a lot of fundraising through donations from larger donors as well.
Yeah. And the space you're in now, I think it's fair to say you've done well with where you are. Because it's an old building. Like when we went in to talk to you, a roof had collapsed and one of the janitors had broken their leg in the accident. Like on where your classroom was, actually.
Yeah, the ceiling collapsed in our classroom because the building is 100 years old and it was the original ceiling, so the ceiling was made out of cast iron and just collapsed.
Wow,
yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah, nobody was hurt, but it's definitely a sign we needed to get out of the building. We needed to get out anyway because you have to buzz in and go up the stairs. We're not a retail space right now, but considering we get 40, 50, 60 kids a weekend for Smash tournaments, we've done pretty good considering how hard it is to find us.
People would say that, like, why do you need to be somewhere that's like visible? But I guess the point of a museum is that you are it's easy to get there and it's easy to find it.
Right? Yeah, it needs to be a retail location. I don't think that the SF MoMA would work if you had to go into an office building and buzz in and sign in at a desk or anything like that. We sort of viewed the original space that we're in now as a lab, because a video game museum was not a thing when we started. And over the 4 years, we've really discovered what it is that people want. They want Mario 3, they want to play Street Fighter, they want to see games that maybe they heard about as a kid but didn't get a chance to play, and they want to share these games with their family and friends.
I think one of the things that kind of struck me when we talked last time was that you had you did fundraise to about $20,000 years ago, and you actually made that stretch for far more than you had originally intended.
Yeah, that basically lasted a year, and I don't know how we did it. I still don't know how we did it, but we did. We used tables off of the street corners, TVs people would put out on the curb. We would grab them and use them. We really, really scrape every quarter to get every cent out of it. But it's all thanks to our wonderful volunteers. I mean, they were the ones who helped put this Kickstarter together and did the videos and everything. We have a very good, dedicated group of volunteers, and we always need more.
So if people are looking for it on Kickstarter, would they just search for The Maid right now?
Yeah, or you can go to our website, themade.org, themade.org, and there's a link right at the top. There's also our Twitter, our Facebook. I believe you guys are going to have a link too.
Yeah, we've got a couple of news stories. I was tweeting about it this morning as well, because it is something that's like, I definitely was very sort of ignorant of this. Like my catalog of games is the Commodore Amiga, and like you said, most of them are pirate games that I had copies of that turned up, and some games which never made it to Ireland or never made it to Europe, and now I have them like I cherish them, not only because I know that I won't be able to play them in the future if I lose them again, but I guess thinking more further ahead that other people will never be able to play sensible World of Soccer if I don't hold on to this cartridge, perhaps. Peter, you obviously have a lot of games which are very rare. You've all consoles as well. Is there any like games and consoles that you sort of have been searching for that are just suspiciously difficult to find, or games that have kind of disappeared into the ether of time that you wouldn't think of?
Sure. I mean, I think a good example is if you look at sort of the end of a life cycle for a console, companies publish fewer copies of games than they would like when it's really popular and people are really ingrained in new content. So there's a lot of stuff on older Japanese systems, like companies like Sunsoft would publish very limited runs of their games, and stuff like that is really hard to come by now. But this brings me to a question I wanted to pose to you, because I come to this intersection of preservation and game collecting. Game collecting is on the rise right now as both a profitable market and as a trend, like for a hobby that people are undertaking. Do you think that people are perhaps missing the real reason to get this stuff? Because I know in a lot of circles when it comes to game collecting, people are like, oh, I have the valuable game, like you couldn't find it, I got it. There's this competition, and I feel like there should be more cooperation in this regard. And I hate that some stuff is sort of only reserved for the people who are rich enough to get it, when they should really be contributing to something like Made. And I know I have stuff I'd actually like to give you guys. So I'd love to hear your answer to my first question and know how I and other people could donate if you guys want things.
Well, first off, on the donation front, we can give you a tax write-off for any donations, and we accept things in person and through the mail. We had a guy in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania send us over 400 Saturn games from Japan.
Nice.
Well, he would buy lots on eBay and give us everything he didn't want. So we have like the entire Saturn catalog of like dating sims.
Yeah.
But when it comes to collection, you know, we're not going to say anything to stop people from collecting, right? This is like comic books. People love it. And that's fine. There's totally room for that. It saves a lot of stuff from going in the dumpster. But what I don't want to see is if there's one copy and somebody's got it, like the Charlie Brown game on Atari. You know about the Charlie Brown game on Atari 2600? It's like a kite flying game. Nobody's ever played it because one guy has it and he won't let anybody play it. He wants to sell it.
And he won't dump the ROMs or...
No. And that's where the community needs to work. If there's something that there's one of, we need to dump it and make it. Because it's digital, we can copy it and pass it around and preserve it. But you know, if somebody wants to go out and get that box copy of Zelda or Legend of Zelda, you know, that's fine. It's fun to collect that stuff. You know, you and I love flea markets. Half the fun is finding the stuff.
It is. It's true. But you know, it's at the same time, I feel like there are some things that I have that I don't have the time to play that I wonder like, is this best served here, or should this be in the hands of somebody who can actually take care of it and then appreciate it in the meantime?
Oh, certainly.
It's something I struggle with because I obviously like these things, but I like them because, like you say, they're pieces of our heritage that I get to hold on to, but I wish they could be preserved in a perfect way. Like we need standards and we need a real place to do that.
You got a will?
Perfect. Stick Alex's name on it. And of course, if you're a fan of video games, you know, this is obviously, we like to think that this stuff is getting done. Obviously, it's not getting done if you guys are having to reach out and look for money. It's not like it's an easy thing to do. So people can go to the Kickstarter for the Made 2.0, donate. If you have like a couple of bucks to do it, by all means, your backer reward start at $5, right, Nicole?
Yeah, but you know, lots of people donating at $1 even. And we're putting all names on the website under donors, no matter how much money you give.
And right now, are you guys still in your current Oakland office? Is it available? Are you guys open on the weekend?
We're open this weekend. We have a big party on the 26th from noon to 6. Everybody's invited. It's our 4th anniversary party. It's a fantasy RPG themed party, so come in costume.
Excellent. Alex, Andy, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me,
And thanks very much for all
me.
the work you do as well. It's obviously doing a great service for the video games community, and we wish you all the best of success with your Kickstarter.
We wouldn't be able to do it without your viewers.
No worries. Yeah, so get on over there. We'll stick the link in the, oh, is it right there? Oh, look at it right there. Beautiful, Josh Shaw, making it happen. TheMade.org. Head there or go to @TheMade on Twitter and contribute to our collective video game history. All right, we'll be back in a second, folks. Got a lot more to talk about in terms of video games coming in the future. Destiny, The Taken King, a lot of people playing it. Eric Tay, you playing it right now? Is he playing it right now? He's not. He was there since 2 a.m. Playing it. I don't think he slept here. He smells like shit. We're going to get him on in a second to talk about that. We got a bunch more stuff to talk about in relation to everything that's happened at TGS. We'll talk about Bloodborne, the PlayStation 4 price drops, all that new stuff. But first of all, here's a trailer for a game that I think surprised a bunch of people at E3. This is For Honor. Bloodborne! We're sick of all those new hunters. How about some old ones? Speaking of old ones, Peter Brown. Eric, I was going to go by age. Have we done it by age? Eric Tay, Peter Brown.
Yeah.
Mike, you're like 12.
13.
13. Amazing.
12 and a half, man.
I gave him a beer last week.
Oh.
I gave him that beer.
should not
Didn't
talk
you?
about
Telling the
that on
internet?
air?
You're gonna tell the
I didn't
internet?
have it before. It's okay. In Ireland, you can drink from age 4.
There's going to be
I
a
didn't
SWAT
know.
team rappelling through the windows. in
Don't
like 5
swat
seconds.
us because of beer, motherfuckers. Hey, how you guys doing? It's been a late night. Tokyo Game Show. You guys were up. You two were anyway up recording footage from like midnight o'clock. Eric Tay, you were telling me earlier that you were like sleepy, cutting it all together, and then somebody said Bloodborne, and you opened your
Yeah.
eyes. You impressed? What do you think about the new trailer?
I mean, I'm excited because I didn't, going into the year, did I think I was going to love Bloodborne or play Bloodborne to the extent that I did? No. So, like, to see it, it was on my radar, like, in the summer, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of fell off for whatever reason, and then just seeing it, it's like, oh shit, that's right. That's still a thing. And then a lot of the stuff that you kind of want, which is like more weapons and stuff like that, is pretty much what they showed, and you can't be mad at that trailer.
Dude, that one sword where you like jack it into that spinning saw blade.
Oh yeah.
It looked like Dead Rising 3 or something.
Awesome. Yeah.
There's some good
Bow
ones.
and arrow action.
Bow and arrow, yeah.
On there as well.
There was a shield at one
Oh,
point.
was there really?
Yeah.
Like
that
a shield
threw-
that's useful?
Yeah, it threw me off because he actually blocked like
Oh.
the dragon's breath or something. So I'm like, whoa. I thought the shield was not a thing.
Does it fire bullets?
I have no idea. I
God
saw
damn
something
it.
like a long rifle, maybe. It looked like that. I
Miyazaki's
don't know.
he's doing Dark Souls 3 and he's doing this as well, and he's gotten the like documents swapped by accident, and now there's going to be a gun in Dark Souls 3.
It's that thing where like some guy trips in the hallway and it's just a mess of paper and they're trying to put it together.
This'll work.
I got a meeting at 2, damn it!
So I got a couple of questions about this trailer. First of all, I'm going to ask Mahardy about this. Is this set in Yarnum? Do you think it is?
It looks like it.
Yeah?
For sure. I mean, they show these aerial views, which that looks exactly like Central Yarnum toward the beginning of the game. But I mean, then they have these new, like these entirely new areas. It looks like, but it's called the Old Hunters, which leads me to believe maybe it's a prequel. Tay and I were saying maybe it has to do with Gehrman. He's one of the final bosses of the game. He's the one that's kind of guiding you throughout the game, and then he turns out you have to, spoiler alert, he's toward the end of the game.
He's
but
a
I think
piece of
that's-
shit.
Yeah, he sucked. He killed me a lot of times.
What a dick.
But yeah, it looks a lot like Yarnum. It's still that Victorian kind of horror London-looking place.
They have said that this is a brand new set of hunters, so you won't be taking your old character in or anything. So yeah, it's likely that this is sort of an isolated expansion pack that you can play, as opposed to like some end game content. Also, there's a bunch of bosses here that kind of look like they're modified from the first game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darby's Parl looks
See,
like
there's
he's
the
got
shield.
fire now. Well, there's That's
Whoa.
a Darby's Parl looking kind of thing.
God, this game looks so good.
I know.
That's
Jeez.
awesome.
Forgot how great it looked. You guys surprised about how much you enjoy Bloodborne? Mike, I know you're a massive fan of it.
Yeah, I've been a Dark Souls fan for a few years now. Played 1 and 2 both twice or a few times. Played Demon Souls, never finished it, but Bloodborne is probably still, if not my front runner, it's one of my front runners for Game of the Year so far. I've yet to finish, not to get into a Game of the Year conversation.
Yeah.
I have yet to finish Metal Gear, and we have a lot more coming, and there are a lot of other great games, but Bloodborne was that singular experience I had this year where I'm like, that was fucking awesome. I played it twice. I want to start a third, New Game Plus. It's just so much of what I love about like action games like that. It's just it tests you. It's a great challenge and everything, but it's also just so well designed in terms of the combat and everything. I love the world of it. There's like all that underlying lore which I didn't really care about, but the more I played it, I was like, I might as well kind of start paying attention to this stuff. And the setting itself is awesome. I know like other games this year have done the Victorian London, like The Order, 1886,
Yeah.
and Syndicate coming
Very
out
similar
soon.
to Bloodborne.
Yeah. In
If you
every
like
way
turn
possible.
the scores upside down, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
God, that game was a real piece. That's a game we won't be talking about. Game of the Year, I wouldn't imagine, Peter. I was a big fan of Bloodborne. I'd never played a Dark Souls game before.
Oh, really?
I'd like attempted to on PC. It was like, wasn't really into it. Played Bloodborne, absolutely adored it. Like you said, the combat was incredible. What did you think about it, Peter?
I think the game is fascinating. Like the way that it paints the world, encompassing so many small details, just in the presentation alone, right? And then there is all that narrative in the back end. Then you also have this amazing gameplay that's in the middle. But this game pisses me off because I suck at it, and I can't get any. And I really want to see everything that it has to offer. And I wish I had all the time in the world, or at least more skill anyway, to like really get into it all. It it really does fascinate me to no end, and I think it's such a great accomplishment. And I played Demon's Souls back when that first came out, and I really enjoyed that. I skipped over Dark Souls pretty much, so Bloodborne is still that game that I really want to get back into because I don't want this wave of great Miyazaki games to pass me by. I don't want to be just watching from the sidelines. That's my problem to fix, I suppose.
I feel the same way because when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, fuck,
I know.
I never completed Bloodborne, and now it's like sitting there with The Witcher 3, and I'm still going through Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Like I have this guilt. I went to the beach on the weekend, didn't play any Metal Gear Solid, and I came into work and people were like, oh yeah, how many hours are you in? And I'm like, 20, and they're like, what's wrong? Like, why are you playing it? And I haven't completed The Witcher yet. I have a fucking expansion pack's coming later this year.
It's games like Bloodborne and Metal Gear that embarrass most of the games that come out in our industry. It's just funny to me sometimes when you look at stuff and you're like, why are people actually like betting the farm on something like this?
Yeah.
When they're going up against games like Bloodborne and Metal Gear. Like, more power to you for making the effort and really trying and following your dream, but sometimes I feel like those people should really just band together and try to make something that's really good, But
that's the thing about like Miyazaki games. The joke is that they'll ruin all their games for you, and that hasn't done that. But it is the most rewarding experience for me this year so far. I mean, The Witcher was long and everything, and I finished it, and I felt like I really accomplished something. But Bloodborne, it's one of those games, not to be like contrarian, but it is very hard. But once you really get it down and you're patient, like on the New Game Plus, I played through, and it wasn't easy by any means, but I was just so into the rhythm of that combat and like that dodging and that counterattack and trying to refill my health bar, that by the second time I played through, maybe Tay, you could speak to this, I really felt like I'd mastered something.
Yeah, the challenge reward sort of loop on that is kind of like it's like it's going to be the weirdest reference ever. It's like third person action Braid because it's like, oh man, this is fucking hard.
You can't take anything for granted. You've got to pay attention to everything.
And then the satisfaction when you complete it is amazing. Tay, you play a lot of video games. I know you've played. What are we like? 12 hours of you playing Destiny already today. Bloodborne, this expansion pack's coming out November 27th. There's going to be a sort of special edition version coming out December 5th, packed in with the full game. Will you have time for this? November 24th is like 2 weeks, it's exactly 2 weeks after Fallout 4 comes out. Do you think you're going to have time to play the expansion pack?
I hope so. Bloodborne was my first Miyazaki game. Never played Dark Souls, never played Demon's Souls. Loved it. I want to do Fallout. Never played a Fallout game. I'll admit it. It's okay.
Excellent.
You can shoot me now. We
will.
I know. So I want to get into that, but like now that Bloodborne's like right around the corner, like I will probably just gravitate there real quick. Hopefully it's real quick. I don't know, because like you said, you're starting over. But if the bosses are kind of the same, then you might still be able to get through it pretty quickly, minus like the new stuff we encounter that we haven't seen. Like some of those bosses, we haven't seen them before. But unless they do something like pretty substantial in terms of like cleric beast or something like that, they're probably going to move somewhat similar. So you're going to be able to kind of deal with them. And
maybe
and
the novelty's in the weaponry though. Maybe that's the aspect
Right.
where they want you to sort of replay familiar-ish bosses, but you're attacking them in a different way.
I mean, that game's once you kind of like dig deep and like you played several hours, like Mike said, you just kind of start seeing the patterns, and you're just like, oh man, I can't wait. Just do it, and then boom, and just stick the arm through.
That
and,
first
and they're
time
just like,
I got I couldn't get the gun to work for the longest time. I was like, I kept hitting it too early, too late all the time. And then that first time it did, and it clicked. It was like a fucking door on. It was like checking keys on a lock, and then it goes, and it just was like the most satisfying thing in the world. And then you get it like every single time after that as well. Yeah. Okay, I'm pretty hot for some Bloodborne.
Yeah.
That's coming out, like I said, November 24th. This holiday season is going to be amazing. I'm just going to sit at home, eat turkey, and play a bunch of great video games.
I'm quitting
good year.
GameSpot for good. Just to play
Just to play all the games.
Yeah.
It's been a good year, man.
2015's been a great year.
been a
People said it
really
was
good
going to
year.
be like devoid of
I said that.
I said that too.
Yep, I'm so sorry. There's an episode of The Point about me saying how much this year's going to be a snore fest. Nope. You've got a great Game of the Year discussion to sort of piece together this year, Peter.
It's going to be rough.
That's why Kevin left. He was like, he saw what was going to happen in
That's
December.
why I'm going on vacation in a couple of weeks, so I can come in with a clear mind.
You still have to complete The Witcher.
Complete The Witcher.
Play The
That
Witcher.
expansion's
Play
coming
The
out as
Witcher.
well.
Yes, there also is that expansion as well. Great. All right, let's finish this segment before we realize we don't have any more time. Let us know what you think. Bloodborne, The Old Hunters, of course, coming out late November. Let us know if you've completed Bloodborne yet, or you're looking forward to the expansion. Please put your thoughts in the comment box below. We're going to be back in a second. Mike and Peter, you can stay. Eric, get the fuck out of here.
I'll be back.
Go play Fallout 3.
He will be back. Yeah, go play Fallout 3, naked and gunless, and come back to us.
I'll just watch your stream. That's the same. Right?
Oh! No, don't do that.
Why?
Don't do that. Because it's getting the fist thing and then beating dogs to
I've
death
seen
over
how
and
many
over.
how many times you've been stimming up.
Yeah, it's the stim pack chase. That's all that is. Don't ruin Fallout 3 for yourself. That's like I had a buddy of mine who played Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and did the Noam Chomsky run. First time, he fucking hated it. Because it just like ruined a perfectly good shooter experience. Yeah, go away and then come back. We'll talk about Destiny at the end of the show. Peter and my boy Mike Mahardy, we're here to talk about some TGS stuff. We'll be back in a second. But first of all, speaking of Victorian London, wow, that worked out really well. Here's a Jack the Ripper trailer for Assassin's Creed Victory!
I look on as they search in vain. The last job was such a beauty. I love my work and want to start again. Try to stop me.
Wait, so did you actually play as Jack the Ripper in that?
I would imagine not.
I'll make an official announcement. Yes.
Peter Pan, Ubisoft. Sorry, it's Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Sorry.
And I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm still calling it the Morpheus, so I'm like 6 months behind everyone else. I'll be saying Morpheus until next year. You play Jack the Ripper?
I don't
Guy
know.
just murdered prostitutes and
I
did.
don't think so.
cut out their bits.
And they never figured out who he was.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
In previous Assassin's Creed DLCs, you don't like play as the villain ever, from what I can recollect.
But then, is it just one assassin? You just find Jack the Ripper and kill him, and that's it?
Maybe
No,
it's like
you're probably always looking for him and you can't find him.
Where is he? This line of dead prostitutes might bring me to him. And then you find him and
What
kill
an
him.
about face for Assassin's Creed, though, if you spent the entire game looking for your target and you couldn't find him.
Oh yeah, because they wouldn't.
Oh, but they
dare
wouldn't
to
ever
break
do that.
history in an Assassin's Creed game either, would they? Killing the Pope. I want to know if he plays Jack the Ripper. I should have looked that up. I didn't see that trailer
Just
until we
call
started the show.
Giancarlo, he'll tell you.
Yeah, John. Can we get Giancarlo Veronini on the blower?
On the blower?
On the blower, you know.
the horn.
It's Victorian England on the blower. What? Is it Jack the Ripper?
they use blowers in Whitechapel.
I got a real nasty retort to that, which I will not say on the internet. Should we talk about Tokyo Game Show?
Okay.
You think?
Okay.
Okay. There's no segue between Jack the Ripper and Tokyo Game Show. So we're just going to have to restart this one. But don't worry about
They
it.
showed this last night at Tokyo Game Show.
Mike, you're
Sony
thinking about it too
conference.
hard. You're too good at this. Tokyo Game Show is on right now. In Tokyo, Mary Kish is there. Justin Haywald is there. Alexa Ray Correa is there.
Technically, it doesn't start until Thursday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this is pre-Tokyo Game Show?
Pre-TGS.
Pre-TGS is on right now, kids. And I got Peter Brown and Mike Mahardy here to tell us all about all that Sony news. You were here late last night, is that correct?
Yep.
Looking up all that Sony news?
Yeah, I got in for TGS and then stayed for Destiny.
Nice.
But
So
yeah.
you're running on fumes right now. It's been like 12 hours.
I got some sleep,
Oh, you did?
more than Tay.
Correct.
But yeah, Tokyo Game Show was
Congratulations.
a lot. Sony just kind of came out and just showed trailer after trailer after trailer without much talking.
Yes, I hear they would walk people out. Was it Shuei came out and then said, here's a trailer for this, and then the trailer played, and then he came out and said, here's a trailer for this.
What was weird is that every time he came out and said something, he dropped the mic every time. Like
dropped the mic?
It loses its No, but could you imagine if every time he said something, he did that? People would be like, all right, we get it.
I would have stayed up to watch it, but I didn't. But I watched the news on GameSpot.com today, and the first thing I saw was the first thing I saw, which I cared about, was that they're making really sexy colored PlayStation 4s. Peter, you have some really nice colored PlayStation 2s and stuff locked away in your house. Are you excited about colored PS4s?
No.
Really?
It's not really
Look at all the
colored.
colors.
It's not colored PS4s. It's colored plates.
It's like
for your black or white PS4.
But look, it looks like an Apple commercial, so it must be good.
Play colorful.
Look at it.
No, it's
The
cool.
red and
Look,
black
Look,
is-
it's fine. I mean, I'm more enticed by the controllers, which maybe there's really no difference between one offering or the other, but I think the controllers look kind of classy, if I'm honest.
So the faceplates, this is the HDD version of the PS4.
But
Isn't that a weird title?
it's a weird title, but do we actually know that they're not going to work on the original? Because they'd be alienating everyone who didn't buy PS4 until the last month. Because that version technically just came out. And it's like slightly different in some dimensions, but
Is it easier to take off the outside? Because it is actually not that hard to open
No,
up
it's
the
not-
PS4.
it's not any
Like
different.
To replace a hard drive, it's a relatively, in comparison to the PS3, it's a relatively simple procedure.
PS3 is pretty easy, man.
It's 20, so it's like $20 or so there, or what, like I don't know how yen works.
Yeah, right now it's about $20.
Okay.
It's about 110 yen to the dollar.
50,000 yen.
That sounds wrong.
Bless your heart.
That sounds wrong. They're bringing out 9 sort of versions of the console. I think there's like 2 limited edition ones and 7 regular ones, and then you can buy the faceplates separately to make it whatever color
What?
you want as well. That's what I heard. They're launching them as like the SKUs are going to have 9 different types. Is that wrong?
It sounds crazy. I didn't hear that part, but that sounds like the worst way to do it.
Well, talk about the worst way to do it is only do it in Japan.
Are you talking
though.
about controllers
Sounds like
now?
a Steam
No.
machine.
I'm talking about the. It does sound like a Steam machine. I'm talking about the console.
But it's just the faceplates that you're changing.
Are they not launching the actual versions themselves, the hardware itself? You can buy like a blue PS4.
No, you can't buy a blue.
Can't.
It's
It's only the
interchangeable.
faceplates.
It's like the
Disregard my
360
You
statement.
buy them at the Sony store.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Great.
it's the only place to buy them.
Why is this only coming out in Japan?
Yeah, I'll give it time. It'll come out here.
So is this going to be like PlayStation TV or PS Vita TV or whatever they ended up calling it? This stuff just only gets, like, is Japan like a testing ground, or do they just love their own, I guess, home audience so much that they make sure this stuff gets in first?
They've been doing this for years. Japanese companies typically release stuff over there first. So, and look, I mean, I think if you look at the market right now in Japan, console sales are down. So this and some of the other things they announced are kind of, I think, a good initiative to bump up interest and maybe capture an audience that wasn't there to begin with.
All right, let's talk about sexy controllers, which you seem to like. So it's coming out in gold, silver, steel black, and my favorite, look at that, crystal.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your favorite, Mike?
A lot of people have been saying they like the crystal. I don't like it. It kind of reminds me of those cheap Mad Catz controllers.
Don't you talk ill about Mad Catz.
I really like
Z.
the silver.
You like the silver one?
Yeah, the steel black is kind of.
The silver one looks too much like the white one, which
Yeah,
they
but
already
the steel,
have.
yeah, I can see that, but maybe if it's shiny enough.
Gold
the
is
gold,
too
though,
pretentious.
I don't think I can like,
Well,
pull
call
off
me
gold.
pretentious.
I don't think I can pull off gold. Like I would love to walk around San Francisco on a chain almost.
Yeah?
And then just see what people think, and then start using it.
People would think it was
Play
fine because jerks around here ride those dumb scooter things you stand on. The black one looks like just a regular control. I need to see a
Yeah.
side by side to see how different that looks. But the crystal one, it's like that. Bauman was saying, it's like that goofy N64 see-through one. Remember
Yeah.
that?
There were a bunch of
I,
those.
I had like 3 different ones of those. And
Yeah.
I liked them when I
PlayStation
was
2
young.
had a
but-
bunch as well.
You
Yeah.
can see the inside of the controller. You don't like that at all? Not a fan? I got a blue
maybe it'll grow
PS4
on me.
controller. That's how much I care about color.
I have a red one.
You got there's a red one?
A white one.
I don't know if it's out here yet. Someone got it for me as a gift when they were in Japan
Jesus.
back then.
Love
Yeah,
you,
you know,
man.
I just,
So
I'm
they've
so
already had-
connected. And just friends all over the world.
Well, excuse
that
us.
buy me things.
Unbelievable.
I have not seen that. Can I borrow it?
No, because you'll never see it again.
Yeah.
PlayStation VR. That's a name that they probably had 50 hours worth of meetings for, which is the most basic. I liked Project Morpheus. I'd gotten used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think it'll make sense to a broader audience now, especially when like the main challenge of VR is trying to, communicate it to the general public who might otherwise not spend the money. Which I don't know
Morpheus
that
means
just.
fuck all, basically.
Yeah, it means take the blue pill, take the red pill.
Yeah.
Jacking into the Matrix. That's what it means. The PlayStation Trinity, the PlayStation Neo. They could have gone with any of them. They just didn't get Lawrence Fishburne's sign off, I guess. It's cool technology. Do you think, when I think about them calling it the PlayStation VR, it's like they're trying to address that problem that the Wii U sort of bumped into a little bit, where they want to say it's something different and new, but it's like it's associated with the PlayStation. It's not just like this wholly separate thing. It's almost like the inverted problem that the Wii U had. One of the quotes we have here is, the name PlayStation VR not only directly expresses an entirely new experience from PlayStation that allows players to feel as if they are physically inside a virtual world of a game. So that's
See how
an
that
entirely new feels like a stretch, considering you need a PS4 and presumably Move controllers to get this thing to work. They haven't released a release date or anything. Peter, you follow VR stuff quite a lot. You're very much like early on in terms of Oculus and things like that. How far away do you think PlayStation VR is? Because I feel like every time we go to an event, there's like more and more stations showing Morpheus to people.
I think
PlayStation VR to people.
I think we'll start seeing it pop up in stores and have like demo kiosks for people to give it a try. So that, I mean, it'd be really smart for Sony to do that. I'd say this upcoming summer. Summer 2016.
Yeah.
I imagine a fall 2016 launch. That's my optimistic outlook. If they wait much longer than that, they're going to run into the problem of announcing this thing too soon, showing too many of the same things too often. People want to get their hands on this stuff to get excited about it. They don't want to watch a trailer or schmucks like us telling them why it's great when they can't try it.
And next year, Oculus and Valve are also going to have versions of their hardware out as well for people to
Valve
purchase.
is, I think they said January now. Initially it was November. I think some devs are getting it early in November still. Q1 is still the deal for Oculus. Sony has the advantage, I think, for some consumers because the PlayStation brand is more recognizable than Oculus or Valve.
Yeah.
Those are very enthusiast kind of brands.
Was Shuhei on the cover of Time, though? Jumping on a beach?
Flapping like
I want to see that.
like a bird on a beach.
Flapping Shuhei. Another, I guess, this is sort of more to do with the Japanese market than ours, certainly, which is that there has been a price drop for PS4 as well. If you convert it to USD, it's now $292 down from $334. Sort of piecemeal price cut you tend to see after a year or two on most consoles.
It's interesting if you actually look at that price. A lot of Japanese price tags include tax before the price, so that may even be cheaper equivalent if you take the tax differences into account.
Off as well. So it's PS4 struggling a little bit in Japan. Just
pretty much
like
all
consoles are,
yeah.
right? Like mobile gaming is a massive pull for them now as well.
Yeah, you've got games like Puzzles and Dragons dominating the gaming landscape over there, and Xbox is selling hundreds of units per week, which is nothing.
Yeah.
But the 3DS is like dominating, I think this is sort of like the Colors introducing those. It's a good way for them to stoke interest for new consumers. But I think it'd be strange if we didn't see something else happen for Europe and North America. You've got Paris Game Week coming up. Maybe Sony will say something there for Europe. Got the PlayStation experience coming up in December for North America. Maybe we'll hear something about that there. So this could be an indication of Sony's moving across the board rather than just in Japan, but this is Japan's biggest gaming event. This is their time to say we still matter in the global gaming landscape. So gives them a sense of pride, perhaps, and shows that Sony cares about them still.
Yeah. Same reason Microsoft always do a FIFA bundle at Gamescom over here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks, Europe. Thanks very much, Peter Brown, Mike Mahardy, for coming on, talking all about Tokyo Game Show and all the news coming out there. Of course, we have boots on the ground in Tokyo as well all week. So make sure you check GameSpot.com for all the latest news and video features for stuff that's coming out of Tokyo Game Show. Man, I'd love to go to Tokyo Game Show. You been to TGS before?
3 times. This is
3
the first
times?
year I've not gone.
Ever in your entire life?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No,
3 years old.
I'm not going here, but I get to go on vacation there in a couple weeks.
Excellent.
So I don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah.
I'm happy for those who are there.
That's true. Mike, you ever been?
Nope.
Ever been to, have you, E3 this year?
No, not this year. This is the first time in 3 years I haven't done E3. I've done GDC for the past 4 years.
You did PAX for the first time this year.
PAX Prime, yeah. Yeah, actually, any PAX.
Yeah, that's good
It was
fun.
nice.
I'm looking
It was
forward to
fun.
that. There's a couple more rest of the year. I know BlizzCon's going to be out, going to be on in a couple of months' time. PlayStation Experience as well.
Right down the road.
No, right down the road now. It was supposed to be on in Vegas. I thought they had that place booked out for like 4 years, but apparently it's going to be here in the Moscone Center where GDC happens. So, yeah. Man, there's so many video game events on.
There's a lot.
A lot to do. Still a lot more coming this year in 2015. We're going to be back in a second, though. Eric Tay's going to come back on the couch to talk Taken King with Mr. Mahardy here. But first of all, let's check out a trailer for Gravity Days. The highly anticipated expansion pack for Destiny to Taken King is finally out. Eric Tay and Mike Mahardy, you boys put in some work. You stayed here after TGS, 2 a.m., played Taken King on a live stream for hours and hours and hours. I came back in this morning, you were still playing, you crazy person. But what I want to know about, first of all, is that viewers of the lobby, fans of the lobby out there, want to know, you guys had a chat last week, I believe you said, the first one to
PAX.
level 40. Was that PAX?
Yep.
First one to 40 was going to get a steak dinner purchased by the other. I see some body language here. Eric, how did you get on?
I lost.
Okay.
But I think at the end of the day, yes, he did beat me. I will say that. But I think at the end of the day, we can both say that it's like kind of like not what we expected.
Yeah.
Because I think in our minds, we both knew that it would, or we both felt like it would come down to like this race of like, okay, he's here, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like if I do this, or like if I do this faster, I'm gonna win.
You'll
And then-
figure out the fastest way to 40.
Or sure, yeah. And like it just wasn't that at all.
How did you do
Literally-
that? How did you get to 40
Yeah,
first?
go ahead.
Well, we both saved up a bunch of bounties. Like we filled all 16 slots before the expansion launched, so we
Okay.
could turn them in right away and get the experience.
Fucking cheaters.
So I know a lot of people did that just to to get the higher level, just to start playing higher level stuff and have access to better gear. But as it turns out, it was going a lot faster than we thought. But I also had this cloak equipped that he had, but he didn't have it equipped because he didn't know it gave you 10% experience, and I knew that at
10%.
first.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started like popping the bounties, and we both felt our controller vibrating. So we backed out and saw we were level 38.
Oh my
Or he was
gosh.
38. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I gotta hurry. And I went to turn in my bounties. I turned in like all 16, and I backed out, said level 40, and he was like,
was like
so the
30
last one,
seconds
the last
late or
one was a
something?
year 1 bounty, so you
Yeah.
couldn't just turn it in from the screen. You actually had to go to the person.
Right.
So I kind of said out loud, like, oh shit, I'm out of bounties. And he's like, oh no. And then I like, oh wait, I have one more, I can go turn it in. And I turned it and hit 40 while he was kind of like calming down, I think.
So like a matter of seconds, or like
Yeah.
a matter of inches.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So that kind of, do you feel like you missed out at all?
I mean, I don't know. It just
On leveling?
I think no, because to be honest, we had this discussion on the stream. It's like the 40 number was kind of just like one number for you to get to that you would just like you would technically just progress through the story. But it's not really the number that matters.
Yeah.
Like
so
at
let's,
the end of the day.
Let's
Yeah,
talk
so-
about what matters then. So Taken King, first thing I want to know about is one of my sort of gripes that I have with Destiny is that I never felt like there isn't much in terms of like what I like about games. Gaming content, story, missions, stuff that's like unique. I always felt there was a lot of copy and paste in Destiny. So from what I'm hearing around the office, Taken King has got some really fascinating story and mission stuff going on. So Eric, first of all, what do you think about all that? Really
So first of all, just structurally, how things are like, how they went about it this time is like way better than what they've done like previously. And I was saying this last night too. They kind of took like a Blizzard model approach with like they did it with StarCraft recently. What they would do is you kind of get like this lead up to the mission. You either have some type of cinematic or you have your conversation with your
Quest giver.
quartermaster, quest giver,
Yeah.
and then you kind of go along.
collect 10 of these, go do it, kill them.
Not necessarily like that anymore, but and then after your mission, you would get a little bit more story flavor on what you just did or like what your next steps were.
Yeah.
Where some of the so it kind of weaves the story better. Whereas in the past, it was like you kind of got the mission, you did it, you kind of heard from Dinkle, and then you just kind of like, oh, okay, here's the next one.
So that just made them feel more special. They've sort of fleshed them out in terms of like narrative and cutscenes. And
Yeah,
stuff
it just feels smoother, I think, and I think even for me, like I don't care that much about the story personally, like, but I can tell what they're doing, and just seeing the little bits of cinematics just here and there, like, I mean, granted, it's taken them a year to get here, but
Yeah.
like, just those little nuggets is like a big deal. I think I've seen quotes of like the first 30 minutes of Taken King's story is like killed Destiny Year One.
Yeah.
Like that's how good it is.
So how much of that is there, Mike?
So the main thing that I like is the characterization. I mean, they're telling a story. It's a very small-scale story in terms of, for anybody who's actually gone to Bungie.net, which I have not done often, but I was so interested in the lore behind Destiny because there's so many hints at this awesome story, but it wasn't in the game. There really is a huge amount of lore, just so many different, like wars in the past that affected like what happened, and then the Traveler came and Anyway, that's
So have
kind
they
of a change.
transitioned that to actually being in the game now through the story?
Not the overarching lore as much. I mean, with Oryx being the villain of the Taken, he's the Taken King, and then also a Hive King. It's kind of the Taken themselves are kind of this weird force that keeps absorbing all the other factions. Probably see it soon. They become this new faction that's kind of just these specter-looking things that have new abilities in addition to the old ones. But yeah, the characterization on Nathan Fillion voices Cade, the Hunter Vanguard leader. And he's kind of the sarcastic one of the group, and he kind of takes things into his own hands and just goes off and, without spoiling anything, he kind of, paves his own route with what he wants to do in terms. It's kind of.
So how is the story? Like, is there a lot of it? Is there a lot of missions? Does it feel like in terms of hours? Have you completed it yet?
Oh yeah, the story took us 3 hours.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
What's in terms of
super long.
replayability? No.
Well,
you sort of done with it,
once
or?
you beat the Taken King, which is like half the story, you continue with that's the story, but you continue with the
Yeah, I guess
Taken
that's
Wars,
true.
which those have more context surrounding them as far as fighting the Taken army. Kind of after that, it's like endgame single player cooperative story content
Right.
almost. It's separate from strikes and PvP and everything and raids, the raid obviously, but it's like story driven missions that you could do single player co-op. I did a few single player, but Tay and I did a few this morning. And yeah, there's this good context surrounding them, which I think was lost on previous Destiny missions. So you kind of have a general understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, which is always nice to me. I'm like Tay, I didn't go into Destiny for the story, but it gives you like you have a sense of impetus when you're doing something if you know why you're doing it, how it's serving the overall storyline.
Cool. So outside of that, I guess that core like sort of 3 hours of like fleshy, meaty content. What else are we looking at here? I know there's a bunch of new subclasses. There's a new area as well. What like checkbox this stuff? What are we looking at in Taken King?
Well, we've yet to see the raid, which is like the big deal, of course.
Yeah.
It's always been a pretty big deal, and not having one in House of Wolves, and then now finally having like probably a proper one. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm
We'll
going to
see.
assume because they basically took one off, right? The new area is great. I think we're seeing some of it here. The Dreadnought. It's a ship that's right outside the Rings of Saturn, I believe, or right
it's
inside
kind
them.
of floating.
And the cool thing about it is there's so much stuff you're like trying to find, like little nooks and crannies. Some of them are quest related, like go find these calcium fragments, and you just look around the environment and you're like, maybe there's one there. And I'm literally jumping everywhere trying to find this stuff, and that's the kind of cool things, right? There was even this other spot that I haven't confirmed this, but I've heard some stuff, is that some of these quests require you to do things like you have to dance to trigger the event, or
Right.
like there's like a Sparrow event or something.
It's like some Dark Souls, Bloodborne.
Yeah, exactly. So then I started doing Bloodborne things. I started triggering my point. I tried to wave, and that wasn't really in Destiny before. I mean, like, sure, there were some secrets, but it feels like the Dreadnought, like the area itself, there's just so many secrets. There's all these chests. It's like, you need a key of something to open this. Like, where the hell do I get this key at?
Yeah.
And like, there's numerous amounts of things. And we haven't even tried the Court of Oryx. So there's just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of new stuff. And I think I was telling Mike this. I mean, I know why there's so many DLCs in between something like this, like a really meaty DLC. This to me is more like a WoW expansion,
yeah.
where like you've been playing the main game, and then here's your game changer, like, right? Like, here's something new. You're kind of starting all over again, and that's kind of why I was going all in. I was just like, I kept playing because I was like, this is like leveling again, re-getting my gear, and like the grind is back. And unfortunately, I will say the grind is like pretty grindy though. So like, so someone that's casual is probably not gonna make the raid Friday, but
Yeah.
like, world first, people will go for it. That's what they want, right? And then like people will slowly get into it.
So
And,
let's talk about the final sort of the piece of the puzzle then. Obviously there is a review in progress up on GameSpot.com right now. We sort of get into a lot of what we've talked about already. Why is the full review not up as of yet then?
Sure. So I played about 15 hours of Taken King a couple weeks ago, and I got to play through the story, the endgame single-player content, at least most of it, PvP maps, which have been out for a week now. Actually, as of today, people have to pay for those now, the
Right.
new ones. But I played the strikes and everything, but I didn't play nearly enough to see how the quest system will figure into, and just like the gaining better loot and the grind, as Tay said, how it will continue after that 15-hour mark, because 15 hours is not that much in Destiny. And I wanted to go back and play with a lower level character. So this is the one I started with this morning, my 34 before we went to 40. But I also want to. There's a buff you get. You can just start a new character or just any character really. And Taken King content, you need to be level 25. So the postmaster will give you a buff that you pop in, you automatically go to 25. And I also just want to start from level 1 just to see how you can progress through the quests now. But also the big thing is the raid. That's a huge part of the expansion. And having not touched it, I'm nowhere near having like a final opinion on the expansion as a whole. Do
we know anything about the raid? Do we know where it's going to be? What it's
it's on
content-wise?
The Dreadnought, but you're fighting. Not to spoil story stuff.
Don't then.
Yeah, it's called King's Fall, and I think it's pretty public who you're fighting, right?
Yeah,
you're fighting Oryx.
Let's just say the story, even if it was 3 to 4 hours, I think it is the build-up, lead-up to the raid.
Yeah.
And some of the Taken War stuff as well. But yeah, you're pretty much gonna fight Big Daddy.
Cool. So my main takeaway so far, that's like a factual thing that I have an opinion about, is that Taken King is much better about rewarding you for your time. I think there is a grind stuff, but I think more than ever, there's still the element of luck playing into it, but I know what I'm working for the most part, and I know it might be like a legendary weapon or a legendary weapon upgrade, but I know I'm going to at least get that in whatever form at the end of, because the quest tells you. So I feel much more in Taken King than year 1 that my rewards were based less on chance than on just my hard work.
Yeah, because so many times you would have finished something and then just not even gotten anything that was worth your time. So I guess to that end then, we're basically looking at the first year of Destiny. What do you think of the Taken King? Tay, as somebody who has enjoyed Destiny, who's been playing Destiny for the past year, is this enough of a? Does it feel like a big meaty expansion? Does it feel like it was worth the wait?
Definitely worth the wait. I think I wish there were more of these and less of these smaller ones then, if possible. But I know they can't do it. I don't think, because we've had these conversations of not enough content, right? And that's why there's all these small DLCs, and I get it, right? But like this expansion is like a true expansion, and I wish there were more of these and less of the like kind of like smaller DLCs.
Yeah.
Because this is actually like, it feels like a WoW expansion. Like I feel like, great, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to kind of starting fresh, even though some people are like hating Bungie because they're like, oh my God, all the time I spent year 1 getting all this stuff. It's like, well, I guess you haven't played an MMO before, because that's what it is, basically.
And Mike, final word on it. What do you think about it? Obviously, we'll see a review later in the week, but what are your thoughts right now?
I'm cautiously optimistic so far of the 25 hours I've played total from a couple weeks ago and today. I need to see more, but it reminds me of Reaper of Souls, what that did for Diablo 3.
Yes.
Because you jump back in, and we jump back in, we were getting green items, like just what were those called? Unique, or just regular?
In Diablo, there were
no.
Oh, in
Destiny. We were getting green gear. That's like a
common.
lower level gear, and it was better than the legendary gear we had. So it's kind of like the loot is a little more relevant, and I feel like I'm constantly have a good chance to get something that I'm going to swap in. Obviously, when you get to higher levels, that's when you start doing the stuff that like Tay loves and that I really like, the late game content. But as of now, the journey there is much more interesting.
Cool. And when will we see a review on GameSpot.com?
We don't have a definite date yet. The raid releases Friday, so we're gonna play through that. Hopefully we'll try to all be ready around then, which I don't, we'll see how likely that is.
So it's gonna be a fun weekend then.
Yes. So this weekend, early next week.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. Mike Mahardy, Eric Tay, for coming on, talking all about Destiny, as is the case for the lobby all year round. We'll probably talk again in a couple of months when the next piece of DLC comes out. Or maybe after that, next patch.
They've got at least 2 if you believe the picture.
Believe it. They have at least 2, Eric. They have, if the lawsuit last week is anything to go by, they have at least 7 more years of soundtrack to get through. So I'm sure they'll find some
Nolan.
content. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks very much. Let us know. And also, I have to say as well, you did a really good job, especially considering you guys have been up for like 24 hours.
Well, him especially.
I feel like I've hit my 3rd wind.
You're doing all right. Look at this. Look at this.
This is only my 2nd one. It's not that bad. You can have 4 energy drinks in one day, right?
Eric Tay,
it's only 2.
consummate professional, even when he's riding on fumes. So thanks very much.
Next, a giveaway of a Starbucks.
No, that's a major coffee brand. We don't say who it is.
Oh. Sorry.
but it tastes like shit. I've had it before.
It's a mocha.
Nasty. Let us know what you think about the Taken King if you played some. Let us know if you're looking to get back into Destiny. Did you sort of get off the boil and looking to get back into it now that the expansion and the hype is back, now that the grind is back? Let us know in the comments below. And that was our show this week. That was a long one. You guys doing all right?
Yeah.
You can go home now, you know that?
I think so.
You can go home if you want. No, you can.
Just found something out in Destiny. Gotta try it.
Got its hooks in
What is
already.
it? What
Got
is it?
to. So you know how there's swords in Destiny now, like
Sure.
permanent sword, like you can actually use, and
Bloodborne.
apparently, yeah, Bloodborne. I wish. Apparently, there's a way to farm for that sword. So we
Okay.
need GameSpot needs hot footage. So you know, you
can
gotta
actually
do what you
grow
gotta
You
do.
can
swords.
record footage at home. You know
I
that.
could, but then I'd also have to cut it at home. Whereas right now, what I can do is I can record it and then
Give it to
pass
someone
it off
else.
and go,
Clever boy.
This is Destiny speaking, not Eric
Clever
Tay.
boy. No, it's that variable ratio scheduled man. These teas doing it for a review. Nah, I'm only kidding. Fair play. So that's what you're doing for the rest of the day. Mike, what are you doing for the rest of the day? Are you taking
Yeah.
King for the rest of the week?
Yeah,
basically?
I'm writing up something else. I have no idea. I'm also very loopy. But yes,
Cool.
Destiny, Halo stuff coming out in the next couple weeks.
Excellent.
Review coverage.
So much video games.
Yeah.
I'm knocking together a piece about, we talked to Jake Solomon at PAX.
Nice.
Did an interview all about XCOM 2 and about the history of XCOM and stuff. So that's going to be like a 3-part feature, kind of like the Witcher stuff we did a couple months back. About XCOM, so that should be fun.
Cool.
Maybe we'll get another drone.
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited for XCOM
Crash
too.
that one maybe. Yeah, XCOM. I can't wait. I've been playing a bunch of XCOM in the office for the past day or so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
2012, that was my game of the year.
Oh
Enemy
really?
Unknown. Yeah.
It's amazing. I was a massive fan of the old ones, Enemy Unknown, or I
never
guess
played 'em.
UFO Defense. It was called over here.
Right.
That may be one of the best remakes of a series ever. It sold way more than the original game. It
was unreal.
Which is pretty cool. That and also editing the Tony Hawk interview we did at E3.
Yeah.
Nice.
Finally.
I like how you guys are teasing now.
Oh, Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday, there'll be a pretty cool interview I did with a well-known developer
Okay.
about a game that not many people have seen a lot.
Okay.
So Thursday, come back and check it out.
Right. I don't even know what that is.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that
You know
in a
what
second.
it is. We
I
talked
think
about
I know
it.
what it is.
Yeah.
But,
Actually, and tomorrow for everyone who's watching live, John Vignacchi's coming in. We're going to play some Disney Infinity 3.0, and I believe we also have a giveaway for that fancy new set with all the retro Star Wars characters. So make sure you watch that as well. I believe that is 1:30 until 2:30 tomorrow. So we'll be back then. But we're done today. It's been a long show, so we better let those guys in the back get out of here. Thanks to Josh Shaw, Dan Mahorek. I think Aaron Sampson's been today.
right, dude.
Sorry, we're
Aaron
taking
Sampson.
all his Destiny time as well. Let's get the hell out of here. He could be playing Destiny. Let's all go play Destiny. I'm going to play XCOM. You go play Destiny, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.